Good evening, or whatever time you actually are watching this. It's evening for me. Been a while since I uploaded anything because I've just really not felt like it, and I've been playing Guardians, which people sort of haven't wanted to watch, but we're here. We've got some stuff. We've got Lyath Fatigue, which is basically my new favourite deck ever because it's Comedy Gold. Do I want to keep... I don't want to arsenal any of this, so let's hit him with a... Fire Breathing is the gimmick of this deck. We love it. We are kind of trying to fatigue him out, but part of fatiguing is making them spend all their cards. So if he doesn't block this heavy... Yeah, there we go. Come on, Fire Breathing, take all his cards. I can get damage for it on this. I don't really want to arsenal these things because they're not going to do anything. So I'm willing to do this. Let's go. Do you hear a lot of rattling? It's me hitting that space bar. 2 damage and 3 cards off him for 1 card. Start the beautiful erosion of hit points. As I said, I didn't want to arsenal any of this basically into him, so it is what it is really. We're just burning some cards. Fire Breathing is basically the finishing condition for this deck, which I love. He's gone on Fat Deck. It's the correct choice. He's recognised incoming fatigue, I think. He's got boost in his deck is his big problem, so he is going to bump into a whole load of damagey stuff. I've got to moderate basically what things I use things like Steadfast on versus what things I use my ability and blocking on. And, 5s are a really obvious choice for things to feed this into. That's cute. So, do we... I think we're going to leak 1 damage to him here. That's absolutely fine. Basically, because I could full block it, but I don't think it's going to matter. I get more forward pressure hitting him with a hammer, probably. Maybe I don't. This is the decision making. He's got a hyperdriver as well, so we probably do this. We don't get anything else from him, but we block him out. We're going to arsenal the sigil. Basically, that's just to bluff that I have something in arsenal that does something. But there's no reason not to. I can play it whenever I want. Also means that if I drop below him on life, some of my effects kick in and give me free life. So there's no point gaining the life earlier when I don't have to. I can play it out for it my arsenal at any point. So I'm in a good position with that. As I say, I have slightly more deck than him, and he will be boosting his away, so that will be massive. But he's going to lose 2 cards for this, and I'm going to use 2 cards to block, and we'll both end up on nothing, and that is basically exactly what I want from life. Going to give him all the CNCs. So one thing that's weird about this deck is it main decks certain things like Gravekeeping, just because it runs blue ones. They are just in there to ruin the life of certain decks. It hurts Victor. It's an absolute godsend into Gravy Bones. So there's a lot that goes on with that. But you don't really want to use them in this matchup. They get blocked out or pitched. So he's making himself some hyperdrivers, that's fine. See, I could play this. Gives him more cards, but it means he uses up more cards, which is kind of good. So I think we're going to go for that. We're going to straight up play it. See, this can go into our arsenal this time because that will be nice. So we'll top up for the Titan's Fist. See how he likes 4 damage bonk. It's unsurprising that I'm hitting some of this stuff, but that's what we want. We just want him to use up cards. Burn through that, end my turn, get the Oasis into Arsenal. It's a nice position to be in, basically. I will just keep occasionally checking this. You know, I want to be on par, basically, with card use. He will use his up faster. It's just guaranteed. He can't not, because he's got the boosting. And I've got really, really powerful blocking ability. So I can cover falls really well with the Rampart. Again, a big thing about Lyath, because it's this lovely sort of 3-pitch. We can, you know, we can go through the methods of just absorbing things. You know, this creates like 5 value off 2 cards, which is great because one of the cards isn't used, and that's kind of the whole fatigue bit, right? Like, and it's more than 5 value because you get a value for everything you try and block, right? So he's coming in with this heist. I can put, you know, a card to that and be good. The heist is a little bit annoying because it's like, how do I cover that? It is tempting to actually throw this Flexes in, but I'd like to save it for later. In some decks you save this, into some decks you save this Two-Faced for later, because what it does is it like empties their deck out towards the end once they've run out of stuff. But I'm just not worried into Maxx because he will completely run out of steam. So really that is just for covering things. I could have covered it with the Oasis Respite as another choice. Would equally have been decent. But I think this was the correct sort of way around, really. Less so now that we've hit that. That's kind of... That would have been nice the other way around. Rampart's pulling weight because he's breaking chains to get the Banksy in. So, you know, we can cover things like this really nicely. You know, we're just not leaking damage and he's leaking cards. You know, you can see we're getting ahead on the cards level already now. So this is what we want. He will keep burning things and I will not burn them. Again, with the sort of the head thing versus playing the Oasis Respite, the thing about the Oasis Respite that's nice is obviously it kind of gives me more reach if he goes for a huge turn. So I'm quite happy to sit on this for as long as possible. I value it kind of more than the hat. And I didn't want to obviously be stuck with like random blues in hand that I don't want to arsenal, which is again kind of a problem. You know, I could end up preserving them by using the Oasis and then going, well, now what do I do? What you're going to see here as well is like these fire breathings, unless he gives me a massive window of opening, which he shouldn't do because he's an aggro deck, we won't throw any more at him until like turn 18 plus. Normally it's a very slow burn thing. We're just running him out of stuff. Given it's a Talishar game, like he probably won't even let me throw them. He'll concede, which is, you know, it's fine. A win is a win. You know, like functional win is as good as playing it. But that, you know, that's what we're sort of aiming at. We'll use up these fire breathings. We've got remembrances to get them back. Once the deck is basically nothing but blues, we pick up a fire breathing, we get it in Arsenal, and we start swinging for like 15 at a time, which is huge. I don't remember what this one is. Is this just hyperdriver stuff? Yeah, he's getting loads of hyperdrivers. He can get some big turns out of this. I just don't think it's going to matter. Like, I can absolutely preserve my life. I am just blocking because that is one, what Fatigue Life does, but two, like it's how you beat your mechanologists in general. Like, as a defensive deck, you just sit there and they will fatigue themselves because they have to boost things. So, you You know, like he's 4 cards down just from having to play the game. That'll be 5 cards down from having to play the game. And he's coming in for 8, so we can give him, we might give him 7 here, I guess. 3, 6, 7. I should have done this with stand actually, really. Yeah, 1 second. Slightly awkward thing about playing this stuff is basically like, because this window is actually before this card resolves, you have to do it like that. I constantly forget on Talasha, basically. So we'll cover 7. We're fine with taking 1. Occasional ones is not a problem. Yeah, that's a 1 card 7 cover. You know, that's perfect in terms of burning his deck out. We might end up throwing this fire breathing at this rate. Looks less likely now that he's coming with Banks. Decisions. I don't want him to hit with that. Yeah, so we'll give him the 5 because we don't need to go forward particularly. We're not trying to kill him like that. Hit him with a little diddy hammer this turn. It's going to pretty much do as much as the fire breathing was. Uses less of my cards up. You know, this is all fine. Hammer's obviously only for 3 because we're not pitching 3 cards. We didn't have any, so we just be as efficient as we can. You know, like it really doesn't. You know, you want to be swinging for 4 if you can, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's just about giving him the bonk. You know, removes armor. He's again like, is it discard a? Yeah, discard a hyperdrive, draw a card. So he's just like, he's digging through his deck more. This is just more cards gone. This is great. And we've come into a nice hand here. We've got a lot of wiggle. So one of the things with Oasis is obviously you can just use it as like an extender. You can play it off tunics and stuff, but what you can also do is swap your rampant out for them. So, you know, you can go into pitch for Lyath, play an Oasis to sort of cover various things. So he's got his big mechanoid. His mechanoid's good. You know, this thing's going to give him a lot of steam because it hits nice. I can prevent it for days, so you know, we'll see how we get. And he's obviously lost all his equipment, so he's not really doing another one. I can't remember if he even has the ability to build another one properly. I think there might be something, but I don't remember. So we're basically just, we're just trying to soak up stuff here, I think. So we're going to feed an Oasis into here because it covers the 4 really nicely. We can throw the heart because we're not going to dip on life in a meaningful way this turn. He's not doing anything else. He's not using the mechanoid, which is interesting. So, you know, we get to make the might token. Get to keep a lot of hand. It's also kind of a fascinating little bit. Nothing else to do here apart from just swing, which is fine. But yeah, come in with a nice healthy Titan's Fist for 4, and you know, we can chip his life down to a point where he has to use cards up. That is kind of part of the fatigue game. If he gives me space, I will do things. This is an interesting turn, and I can't really play the steadfast, but I can, but it's going to be awkward. We're going to give him these because that covers 4. So we would need to respond to the overcrowded, just as a tip, because of the way this orders. You can just Lyath before even blocking, but you can get a response into its trigger basically. Get your might token into play, and then overcrowded will give itself the bonuses. Puts you in a nice place. We've got our one floating, so we can Oasis Respite. We can always Arsenal up this Steadfast if we need to go on to the Oasis. I don't know what he's coming at me with. If he decides he's not coming in with the Mechanoid, we just keep the Steadfast in hand and do nothing with it, and, you know, so be it. So there's our 5. We're going to block this in as well. So he's definitely going to get damage in this turn, assuming he sends everything, which is fine. Yeah, just that. I feel like the Mechanoid's going, ooh, he's got a lot of damage. This is good pressure from him. I can't really use my equipment this turn. You know, we can accept this. And the other thing is his deck size is going down relatively quick from this. The heist is good. You know, unfortunately, we don't have we've not a good hand for dealing with this stuff. Does he? He's got hyperdrivers. That's fine. I don't really care that he's getting a free hyperdriver. Big turn from him. You know, he's going to force more damage through than I wanted, but nonetheless, we can live with it. Also means my life gain is going to turn on. Gonna say we can't get rid of the Steadfast to get the grip. It's just unfortunately a bit of a scuffed hand, really. Oh wow, yeah, he's coming in a lot. You know, really hits the life total, but nothing you can do about it. And I will recover a lot of life, as you'll see. You know, these are the big mechanologist turns, but like, you know, he's only just ahead on life now. And I'm back to being able to block properly, so. Yeah, so we'll show him a card, because we don't care. And we've got 7 to block. Where do we get our 7 from? We could go in with the Steadfast, like it's not a bad place to go in. Because I'd like to get it used up. That's kind of the main thing here. So we're going to give him the Rampart, sorry. Because we can, you know, we can utilise it for paying for other things. We don't need this overcrowded at all in hand at the moment. And then we're going to throw this up. And we're going to pay for it like that. So that's his big harpoon stopped. And this is, again, he's losing 2 cards to my 1 card because of all the boosts and such, which is fine by me. Get that Lyath activation in. So he's obviously had a very gentle turn there because of, you know, what he's gone for, what he's done. The Liar's Charm is good, so like you could overpitch here and cycle to look for more stuff. The Liar's Charm gives me quite a lot of reach, so I think I'm going to keep this Oasis in hand, Arsenal this, and I'm just going to hit him. We obviously kept a high cost blue so that the Titan's Fist coming in for that efficient 4. You know, I can kind of catch him up on damage because he's having soft turns. And you know, he's looking for those big mechanoid turns. I'm looking for, you know, being a pain. Basically, you know, there's not much else to it. I say I like Liar's Charms in Arsenal because they just come out from nowhere and help you cover stuff. So this isn't doing anything very interesting, is it? No. So the question is he going to do a second thing? We've got the Fiddler's Green to block with. We could put... I don't want to put more cards into the thing. I think we leak a damage here because it's just way more efficient on our hand, and we don't want to like give him a big opening and go, surprise, you can do whatever you want. What I am going to do is I'm going to pay for this with the Withstand because I've used my shield up this turn. and I just don't want to have to like deal with that, if you know what I mean. This will just sit around for a turn or two. I'd rather cycle it through, just because it's going to be a little bit cloggy in my hand. You know, you can tell where this stuff comes from. So he's coming in for 4. We're not going to block it. We're going to do the respite. That basically covers it without a life gain. We'd like to gain a life, but we just don't get the opportunity here. As in, we're going to get one or lose one. Yeah, there's the mechanoids. So I thought these would be coming. This is fine. Like, it's as good a time as any to, you know, take some of this on the face. We can give him the grip. We can give him the last card in hand. I don't mind about not attacking him. It doesn't bother me. I believe there'll be another 6 coming. I think he's going to go for the pressure with it, I guess. But the thing is, he's only got like 4 more swings of it. It's a very dangerous card. It does a lot. You know, he's going to get a lot of force through, but he's not going to kill me. You know, I'm gaining life again. And that's the thing, because he's having off turns and because I have life gain, I do recover. The other big thing this Lyath's Charm doing, by the way, is I run flexors in this deck. A lot of life fatigue go for the I can't remember what the pay for ward things are called. Blanking on the name. I quite like these because of the Lyath's Charm interaction. You know, I can drop out a Lyath's Charm when he tries for a big turn, and I can throw flexors in front of a dozen things. I find that, you know, very good, basically. We're probably going to do a Lyath's Charm this turn, I think, unless something weird happens, because it looks like a turn where it'd be good. Because we can give him this. We'll throw the power plays. Power plays are good later. They're better to have in the deck than the other stuff. The other stuff is obviously like used for other things that we don't care about at the moment. So we're up to there. What are we on here? Yeah, we're way ahead on cards, so we can absolutely just even take the risk. But what this does is you target yourself and don't throw the card. You blank your ability, and all your cards get +1. So these flexors now do have 2 base if I need to use them. I won't be using them this turn, I don't think. But these are now 4 blocks. So it just kind of forces him to not do stuff, and that's, you know, that's good. That's, again, me coming back to kind of a forward pressure. You know, I'm coming in with this Titan's Fist, and it's a big Titan's Fist. You know, that's the simple description. You know, we've got 2 mites behind it because of the extra one it gives you. So he's just eating damage, and again, you know, I'm keeping up, and he's running out of deck, and he's going to run out of Mechanoid. You know, Mechanoid can force it for sure, but you know, again, Fiddler's Green's back. You know, got a nice blue heavy hand, which is what we want to see, so I can play all this stuff. You know, if he does go for a wide hand, because you know he's got potential, he's on 5 cards in the Mechanoid, but this quick dodge flexors with Lyath's Charm will just pick up a lot of speed. I'm going to kind of hold this until I think he's going for a pressure turn, and then we're going to see if we can just cut it off at the legs. We'll see. You know, it's hard to predict. I know what I'm trying to do, and he's obviously trying to not let me do it. So this is kind of the back and forth of it. It's why I find the life fatigue deck interesting, because I kind of initially thought it was going to be kind of miserable. I thought it was just going to be block slop, and it's not. It's a lot of decisions. And you know, most of those decisions are around blocking, but it's kind of about, you know, how do I dodge things, what do I save, when do I get things in my arsenal, when do I keep them there? You know. So this bad boy comes in for 5. He's not made action points, so it's not going to be a big turn. So we're going to give him this. Throw that rouse out. So So we're full blocking. We're just trying to get our life up while he's on, because this should be an off turn for him, I think. You know, could be wrong. It could change up and he might start mechanoiding, but I think he's not going to do that much more this turn. You know, he can certainly swing with more cards, but I don't think he's going to do much, despite having 6 resources as well. Like, the resources don't necessarily pay for anything. It's the weird thing about having all those drivers, right? You know, and the where is it on the chain? In there somewhere. Yeah, this bad boy, you know, produces 6, and it's like, oh, you get loads, but yeah, he's closed the chain. He's giving me that. He's giving me my rampart back, so like this is going to be a really comfortable turn for me, I think. So he's hitting the gas to get cabs. He's getting action points, so he's now probably going for a big mechanoid turn, is my guess. So this is where we probably get this Liar's Charm in. I think it's difficult to know because, you know, like we got a block value anyway because we've got our ability on. This is kind of the point where you go, I wish I had more stuff, but you know, we've got a rampart, we've got the flexors. With him giving himself 4 action points, I think he's just coming in full force with this. And if he's coming in full force with this, I think we're going to do the Magic Grande to pay for the flexors. Because it'll block 4, but it will produce 6 on them. You know, there's no good choices really, I don't think. I'll give him that. I'm going to pass on this because we can't afford to pay more into it. As I say, given he's made those action points, I think we're just going for this. This feels correct. I'm going to let him hit me because I'm going to get more from this respite, and it doesn't really matter that he's like, this is blank text as far as I'm concerned. He's only got 20 cards left, which matters. This mechanoid's obviously going to do a big chunk of my damage this turn. You know, he's got a lot from that. So we can give him that, we can give him this. We're just trying to soak as much as we can and then we'll recover as much as we can. I mean, it's good times. He's going to get another, what, 12 on me or something? 11, because he doesn't get the last point. You know, it really hurts. But he's done with that shit now, basically. We've weathered the worst of it. We've got very little life left now to survive and recover and stuff. This is not the best hand for recovering. It puts us in a dangerous place. Especially because we might have to just eat one of these. I'm going to give him the shield. We're going to give him the Truth or Trickery, and we're going to play some Gamba. We're going to see how we do. I assume this pauses him reading this card going, what the fuck is this? Would I like to play a game? Yes, I'd like to play a game. So it shows me a blue and we're going to choose red. And then he has to guess if I'm lying, and if he gets it wrong, he loses a card, and that's going to be huge because it'll just take the legs off his turn. No, it didn't, so it just is what it is. This is fine. We'll throw that out. And then the only question is, do we Liar's Charm? We're in kind of a scary place just because we don't have much block in this hand. This is quite a dog shit hand in terms of that. I don't think we Liar's Charm. I think we take the damage, and I think we hope that there's not too much coming in. Not really what we want to go for. So this is a very bad hand when we're on this life total. This is not what we want to see. We're in danger. This is absolutely the worst thing I can say. Because it becomes like, how the hell do we prevent all this? And we are going to get battered, would be my description. So we're going to have to go big on the blocks with the steadfast. So we're going to feed that in like that. Yeah, we're wasting it, but you know, what do? You can't do much else. This will only get me a 2 block off this fissure. But, you know, we can accept that. And we are just full blocking. The real question is, do I give him this tunic? Because we're low on life, but we can give him at any point. I think it's not going to be the end of the world. That's a problem. One's all you need. I don't know if you know this. I mean, I'm in so much danger because that was just a terrible hand. You know, I think I'm going to die here, if I'm being honest. I don't think I'm pulling out of this. I just took a bit too much of a beating. You know, that was not the hand to draw after being beaten down to 8 life. I've got no recovery time. I thought I rearranged this. It doesn't actually matter. Doesn't really matter what I pick as a comment. Yeah, so we're into doing that. We get to eat that. He's nearly out of deck is the thing. Like, it's that weird thing of like, this is very close, but at the same time, I am not particularly dead. I think I might be off this next thing. I think he might be throwing a bit too much at me here. Yeah, this is looking bad. Yes, this is a kill, unfortunately. So, you know, the interesting thing here is like how close it was. You know, like, he's only got like 2 turns left in him. I ate too much of the face from that massive mechanoid turn. You know, it was a good turn. And it killed me. So, you know, down we go. You know, it is what it is. You can have a GG. We've made all things tiny. Then. You know, we didn't get to the sort of the finishing bit. There was a little bit of life gain left, I think, right? I mean, we obviously have the heart. The heart of Fienda would have been great if it's, you know, if we'd got around to that again on the cycle. We still had a sigil. So we didn't have much life gain left, to be honest. But yeah, unfortunately, we just drew. Oh, we had a couple of oases left. Yeah, just an unfortunate thing of he just got too big a turn through on that big turn. It was, I mean, that was a massive turn. Honestly, it's the first time I've ever seen Maxx do anything, so it's been interesting for me just on that basis. I don't know why they've hidden this. I don't like this. So we place that. Where was that turn? Yeah, a 29 and a 34 damage turn are buff enormous, but you know, that's what Maxx is trying to do, right? Like, you know, I don't think it's. I complained about the variance in some decks where they pull that out, but like Maxx has to actually work for it and spend many turns doing fuck all to get those turns. It's fair and balanced. He's not, you know, he's not a great hero. He's fine. But you know, that's kind of how that goes. A little sad that I couldn't pull through it because obviously, you know, everyone's watching me and wondering what the fuck this deck is. So I would like to have gone through it. But I mean, you can see how he would have fatigued out, right? You know, if I'd just had a couple more points of life to deal with and not drawn these, you know, horrible non-block turns. And, you know, unfortunately you do get them, but, like, normally you're not under that much pressure. But I just, yeah, I pulled some trash hands, unfortunately, on those. You know, I was happy with overall with how this went. Yeah, Mechanoid's pretty good on that regard, where he's getting, like, yeah, dragging that in and like taking those 2 massive turns to punch through my reserves. It works. But you know, you can see how close it was, you know. 10 cards left. Oh, I can even look at the 10 cards left. Like, I mean, yeah, he hasn't got damage left in his deck. If he hadn't killed me there, he wasn't killing me. Yeah, there is literally no damage left. That was it. So, you know, if I'd have managed to keep 2 more hit points, if this Remembrance had been a block, I'd have won this game. You know, and what do I need? 1 more point of life because the tunic would have covered this. You know, it's a big deal, right? So, you know, I think he literally won that by 1 life. And I do wonder if earlier in the game I maybe misdid something at some point and I could have had that life back. You know, it feels close enough that I probably did something wrong and, you know, didn't get to keep the game for it. But, you know, it's been fun. I hope people like seeing a bit of Lyath. There's going to be a whole load more. I'll see you in the next one.